Hi guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a review of the Wolf by Wolf duology by Graudin, which consists of the first book, Wolf by Wolf, and the second book, Blood for Blood, and also some novellas. I have read the novella between Wolf by Wolf and Blood for Blood, which is Iron to Iron. Wolf by Wolf is about this girl called Yael who can skin shift, which means she can change into any person she wants, and she is part of this rebellion. Her goal is to kill Hitler, because in this world Hitler has won the war, and Yael is going to compete in this motorcycle race, skin shifted as Adele, who has won this motorcycle race before and has met Hitler because she won that motorcycle race. Girls initially weren't allowed to participate, but Adele disguised herself as a guy and won the race, and then revealed herself to be a girl. So Yael is so the rebellion kidnaps Adele, and Yael is skin shifting into Adele to participate in this motorcycle race, win it, and then meet Hitler to kill him. So that is basically what the first book is all around, and then Blood for Blood takes up after that premise has kind of solved itself. I think I read Wolf by Wolf last year, and then I read Blood for Blood back in January, and I finished up this entire duology, and I want to tell you about my thoughts. I just remember being in awe after reading the first book and just needing to know what happened to these characters after the first book ended, because I read the first book before the second book came out. The second book came out in November 2016, and I read the first book back in August 2016. So I had to wait for a little bit before I could find out what would happen to these characters I really came to care about after the first book. But I have to say, after finishing the second book, I think it was even greater than the first book was. The second book really made this a solid, consistent series I would totally recommend to you if the premise sounds interesting to you. It is historical fiction, but if you don't like historical fiction, I would still recommend this book to you, because it does have some fantastical elements to it, like the skin shifting thing that came forth from experiments that were performed on these children. And obviously Yael is one of those experiments, and she can skin shift into anyone she wants. But this really doesn't feel like historical fiction. It's written very contemporary-like, and it's very fast-paced. You just want to read another page and another page, and you really don't want to put the book down. In the second book, I actually realized how much I came to care about our main character Yael, which is a very impressive feat that the author has managed to accomplish, because Yael pretends to be someone else for the entirety of the first book. And me caring about Yael as a person, even though she doesn't really know who she is herself, is very impressive. There was also some diversity in this, because obviously Yael is Jewish. She is part of this rebellion and wants to kill Hitler because she is Jewish, and the people of this rebellion are Jewish. She isn't a practicing Jew, but in the second book she does stop practicing again, particularly towards the end, and it is very unique to read about, because I don't think I've ever read a book about a practicing Jew. And when you read about World War II, about a Jewish character, you never really read them doing anything regarding their religion. It's mostly just them being Jewish and nothing, and they don't really practice. Aside from that, there's also a character who loses some fingers from their hands, so it's like a real disability. This character actually struggles with losing the use of their hands. The ending of this entire duology was bittersweet, and I could see from a mile off that this series wasn't going to have a happily ever after, because it is a World War II retelling, and I knew there was going to happen something to these characters I came to care about. But I really loved the ending of this, and I particularly liked it because it wasn't a happily ever after. I think the ending of this duology was one of the most realistic endings I have ever read in a book. This series also made me think a lot. Like, it made me question everything. Friendship, love, religion, life in general, the people you trust, the people you interact with. And I love that this series made me think like that, especially the second book, how the second book really touched me and made me question myself after finishing it. I am also really glad that this series was just a duology. A lot of book series are prolonged, and they get more books than the story really needs, but this story only needed 2 books, and I am sad I'm not going to read any more about these characters, but I love that the story was wrapped up in 2 books and wasn't unnecessarily prolonged. Blood for Blood definitely gave me a huge book hangover, and I really didn't feel like picking up anything else since then. I just kept thinking about the book itself and wanting to read another book by Graudin. I immediately add another book of hers, The Walled City, to my TBR. I haven't picked it up yet because I haven't had much time to read in general. I think that I won't forget Blood for Blood anytime soon. Then 2 points that I disliked from this series. One is an entire character, and that is Felix. Felix is Adele's real brother who also participates in this motorcycle race, and he thinks Yael, skin shifted as Adele, is his real sister. I liked Felix, I sort of liked Felix in the first book, but in the second book, I get why he was in the story, but I really didn't want him there. I wouldn't erase him from the story necessarily. It's not that he was a badly written character, it's just the actions that he took in the book really made him unredeemable for me. I get why he did what he did, but I hated him for it. And I have to be vague, obviously, because this is a huge spoiler for the second book, but I hated him for what he did to most of the characters in this series. Honestly, I don't have much to say negatively about this series because I love it so much, and I wanted to talk to you about this entire duology because I like to do series reviews, and I have been finishing up a lot of series lately, and I really want to wrap up my thoughts on this duology for you so you can check it out maybe if you like. Would I recommend this series? Definitely, for sure. I only have one negative point, and that was a character, and it's not even because he was written badly, it was just because of the actions he took, which is a good thing. I hated him for what he did, and I really like the way he was written. So I would definitely recommend this series to you if this sounded interesting to you, and even if you don't like historical fiction, but the overall premise sounds interesting to you, the skin shifting thing, please check it out. I definitely don't regret picking up this series, and it will stay with me for a long time. Would I pick up anything else from Ryan Graudin based on this book, based on this series? Definitely. Like I said, I've added The Walled City to my TBR, and I honestly cannot wait to pick it up because that premise also sounds super interesting to me. So I think I would read anything else by Ryan Graudin at this point because this series has made me fall in love with her writing style and just the ideas she had behind the Wolf by Wolf duology. This is my review for Wolf by Wolf duology. Let me know down below if you've read this duology and what you think about it, spoiler free of course, and if you haven't read it, would you pick it up based on this review or did it pique your interest already? I would love to know. Thanks for watching, goodbye!